He was very good with horses.
Was he?
And he was kind of, the farmers went to him and had him help them with their horses.
This was in Sweden?
No, here in America.
So he must have had some...
Well, he was kind of like a horse doctor.
Oh.
And he would, I know he'd made up a liniment that was just marvelous.
I have a note that he was born in Visserud. Would that be correct? And he came to this country about time of the Civil War, I guess, around 1865.
I think so.
The first to Galesburg, Illinois. Have you ever heard anything about what he might have done?
No, I have no idea about that. I didn't even know he'd been there.
And then he came a few years later then and settled in the Småland.
Yes, Småland-Selsburg area.
Salisbury area. Now, what have you heard then about his activities around that time? What did we...
Well, he became, since he was interested in horses and things, I guess, he became a cowboy. And he drove longhorn cattle from Texas. He was one of those that helped with those longhorn cattle and drove them up to Appleton.
I was speaking with Carl Carlson, who is also a descendant, right?
Yeah, he's my cousin.
A cousin of yours. And he led me to believe that Ed Nelson worked as a cowboy before he came to the Småland area.
Well, Carl seems to know more about it than I do. So if he said that, that's true.
Yeah. And then, then you said that, he also said told me about his going to Oklahoma and working.
Yeah, well, there was a whole group of people around Salisbury and Småland that went down there. And they went and they were on Indian line for a while, I guess. And but Grandpa, he bought and sold land, and he made a lot of money.
And so when he came back here, what did he do?
He bought Roostad, which was out here by
that estate.
Yeah.
But the mansion or the house out there had already been.
I think it had
built.
been. I believe it had been made by somebody else. I'm sure because I don't think Grandpa did it.
So then he was married in your grandfather was married in this country then?
Yes, he was married in this country.
And his wife, who would be your grandmother, what was her name?
Her great-grandmother.
Your great-grandmother.
I have Carolina Peterson.
Well, this is on your mother's side.
Father's.
Oh, but Edward R. Nelson's wife, what was her name?
Her name was Augusta.
Augusta Peterson. All right. Now then, her father then was, is this the correct picture?
Yeah, that's a correct picture of great-grandfather.
And his name was?
A. Ludwig Peterson.
What?
A. Ludwig Peterson.
A. Ludwig.
I think it was Anders.
A. Ludwig, is it?
Just A, capital A, Ludwig Peterson. That's what he was known as. That's the way, I know, because I had his homestead papers, and that's the way it was on that.
And do you remember or have any idea about when he had come to, he settled in the Småland area too?
Yes, well, he came in, it was Hayes was the president, because he was the one that had signed.
Hayes.
And he was the one that signed the paper of that.
And you did have the homestead papers?
Yes, I did, and they're still here in the house, but I haven't found them. I put them away awfully well.
Now, what was A. Ludwig Peterson's activity in Småland?
He was a farmer, and he was a very good, he was called a trädgårdsmästare, and that was an orchard. He had a lot of orchard.
Oh, really?
He had, I know, because they dried fruit, and Grandma would make fruit soup. And they had apples, and they had peaches, and all kinds of fruit there in their yard.
But he sold a lot of fruit then too.
No, I don't know that he sold it. I don't know. But then I know we used to go out there for summertime, and my dad used to do carpenter work for him, and they would be drying the fruit and to have for the winter. They had the cutest little house. It was just like a Hansel and Gretel's little cabin out in the forest. It was such a sweet little house.
Now, this is a picture of who now?
That's my great-grandfather and great-grandmother, A. Ludwig Peterson, and I believe her name was Johanna Augusta Peterson.
Or Carolina, Johanna.
I think Grandma Nelson's name was Carolina.
Oh, her name was.
Yeah, but this one was Augusta. Johanna Augusta Peterson.
Okay. I have a note that Ludwig Peterson had only 2 daughters.
He did.
Is that correct?
Yes, that was correct. One was Emma. She was the oldest one, and then Ed R. Nelson's wife, Carolina. My grandmother.
Yeah. I was previously. You told me a story about that your grandmother told you about Augusta's older sister Emma when she was 12. Remember that story when they came here? The story about the yellow jaundice.
Oh yes, that was just. I don't know what. They came across it. She said it was just over the North Sea. It was just terrific. It was such a bad storm, and the men were all in one cabin or room, and the women were in the other one. And she said there was a man that kept coming back and forth, and to see how they were, and the women were in their cabin. So then one day he came and he said it in Swedish. He said, well, now goodbye and God, let's see, he said, he said thank you and goodbye, because now it's broken in the back. The boat had broken and they were sinking, but they got to but it was funny in Swedish, tack så mycket för nu heter spruck i bak. But that's what, and Grandma said they couldn't help but laugh at it. But then when they got to Liverpool, then they had to get to, they carried all their stuff, and can you imagine them? They didn't have food. I mean, they had to carry food, cheese and bread and stuff like that.
I suppose probably herring too, something that wouldn't spoil.
Yes, they had to carry it, and they carried a spinning wheel. It was kind of a small one, but it was a very lovely spinning wheel. Now Patty has it, and she has it by her fireplace, and it's a lovely thing. And so they had to carry. Well, this Emma, their daughter, the oldest daughter Emma, she was the one that was sick, and she had yellow jaundice, and Grandpa wasn't a very tall man, a great grandpa, I should say, and he carried her on his back, piggyback, from where they stayed the night to the dock. He carried her on his back, piggyback. Well, then they'd have to go back and get the stuff that they left too. Sure. But can you imagine him going down the streets of Liverpool with a 12-year-old girl on his back, the little old man?
Now the 2 daughters were Emma and Augusta, and Augusta married Ed Nelson.
Emma never married.
Did she live very long?
Oh yeah, she died. She died. She lived here with me for a while, so she lived quite a while. She didn't die until.
Well, she lived with you.
Yeah, she lived upstairs. She had a room up there at 35. Well, they moved to town and they lived across from where Greenblads lived down up here, and they lived there. And then Grandpa Morfar, he died. Grandpa died, and then Emma, she couldn't live by herself, so she came and lived with us. And then my folks died, and then I moved over here, and then she stayed with us.
Now this is another picture of Ludwig.
Oh yeah, that's my great grandfather. He was such a cute man, and Emma told me that she had never seen him real angry, and he never swore at anybody or anything. She said he never smoked, he never drank. She said he was a very fine man.
And his wife's name was it Carolina, Emma Carolina? Or
Carolina Christina.
Carolina Christina. And they came from Västergötland. Any particular, I have this name,
Skinnskatteberg.
Again, would you say it again in Swedish, how it would sound?
It's Skinnskatteberg.
Skinnskatteberg.
Yeah, and Emma told me that before she passed away, and I said, now you have to tell me where you were born so I can remember it. And I've never forgotten it. And I talked to somebody from Sweden, and they remember Skinnskatteberg. So it's there, I guess, yes. But it's an awfully hard thing to spell.
So, Ludwig Peterson, having lived around here then all of his life, whereas Edward Nelson had gone to Oklahoma, so probably Ludwig Peterson probably experienced more of the hardship of the early days here. Probably
well, I think so. Well, I know Grandma said that...
How they get supplies and everything for you.
Well, he wasn't a very big man, but you know, Worcester told me that he would go to Salina from Smolin, walk to Salina on the railroad track, and carry 100 pounds of flour home, or 100 pounds of sugar. Mm-hmm. That's what they did. But that's the only way they had of getting it, because they didn't have, I don't know if they had oxen or horses by that time, but I know later on he did, but then he didn't.
You've been using the term Worcester. What does that mean in English?
Well, Worcester is your mother's sister.
Your
That's
aunt,
what it means.
Your aunt.
And so that would be my aunt. But she was Grandma Worcester was Grandma Nelson's sister. And then she'd be if she was my father's sister, then it would be Foster.
So you would, when you refer to Worcester, then it was Emma that you were...
Mm-hmm.
Emma,
that was Emma.
You were talking about.
Yes.
I got that straight.
Yeah.
Now we'd like to have, you mentioned the Nelson sons, the sons of Edward Nelson and Augusta Peterson Nelson.
Well, they had 13 children. One of them died when he was a young boy because he got kicked by a horse. Mm-hmm. But then they raised 6 sons and 6 daughters.
6 sons and 6 daughters. The sons' names were... you have a genealogy there, don't you?
Yeah.
Are they in the order of their age?
Yes.
Okay.
It was William and George, which was my dad. Then it was Aunt Minnie, which was Carl's mother, and
Minnie married Victor Carlson, who was the father of Carl Carlson. I see.
And Henry, and then there was you want the sons. Then there was Alex. Goodness, I always thought that Alex was older than Henry, but I guess he wasn't. And then it was, I bet that was a Henry that died. Because
Henry died young, I think you told me.
Yeah, well, he was a young boy. And then we have Oscar Frederick. Then we have Tina, Josie, and Bertha, and the youngest one was Arthur.
And your father's name was George, and your mother was, what was her name? It was
really Potencia.
Potencia.
But then we all called her Tensa.
You have a, is this a picture of?
Yeah, that's a picture, but that other one is
this one?
That's a picture of our family.
This
there.
one, okay. This is a picture of the George Nelson family.
And that's mother, and that's me, and that's my sister Evelyn, that married Cy Westman.
Oh, she was Mrs. Cy Westman.
And we had another sister. She died at 12 years old of appendicitis. She's
what was her name?
Us two. Verna. She was between Evelyn and I. She was 4 years younger than I.
And but then who are these?
Those are a picture of Mama when she was a young girl in Salesburg.
In Salesburg. You say her name was Potencia.
Potencia.
Is that a typical Swedish?
Yes, it was. She got it in Sweden. She came when she
spelled P-O-T-E-N-S-I-A. But she was known as Tencia.
Tencia.
And you were speaking earlier about some article that had written to her, written about your father being married to Laura.
Yeah, it said so in this book by Dr. Virgin, and he'd never been married but once, and that was to Mama, and her name was Tensa. But they had it Laura. That was wrong.
I see. Okay. Now, Henry was married twice. I think you told me, right? Henry Nelson.
No, he was only married once. Let's see, did any of the boys married twice?
And Oscar was married to
Ellen Nelson.
Ellen
Nelson.
Was her maiden name Johnson or?
Yeah, Johnson. Ellen Johnson.
And Alex was married.
Yeah, he was married twice.
He was married twice. I see. I got that information wrong then the first time. And did I understand that one of his wives was had some Indian heritage?
Yes, the oldest one.
The first one.
His first wife had Indian blood in her. She was, I think, almost a half Indian.
And was Arthur married? Do you remember?
Yes, Arthur was married, and he had 2 children. And but his wife is still living, but he died. He died of cancer about 2-3 years ago. And he has 2 very smart children. And they're my first cousins, and I just met the one about 3 years ago, 4 years ago, and it was so much fun to meet her. I still have cousins out in the western part of this country that I haven't met yet.
I'd like to ask, how many of these sons settled in the Lindsborg area? Did they all stay around here, or did some move away?
No, Alex and Henry and Oscar finally went. They all went out west, around to Arizona.
So which of them stayed around here then?
Well, Dad did, and
George.
That's George.
And
then there was a Henry, and Artie stayed around here. Arthur, the youngest one.
And what about William?
William, he left a long time ago. He was the oldest one. And you know, the funny thing is that they all were in woods. They did carpenter work.
All of the sons?
All the sons. They were with some woods. Now, I know, now Arthur he helped out. Finally, he went out the western, and he was you know, they cut wood up there. I mean, those kind of people that saw wood and stuff like that. That's what he was in. But they were all doing that, and they still do that.
You mentioned the daughters, or your aunts. Minnie was married to Victor Carlson.
Yes.
And Anna was married to a Harris, I believe.
Yes, she was married twice, but she didn't get married till kind of late in life.
And
she never had any children.
Marie was married to
Fred Lundstrom.
Is that any relation to the other Lundstroms around here?
No, they weren't. They were another family. They were from out around Marquette. And now this Lynn Lundstrom, who's the one that's in the bank now that just went in there, the bank? Gene? No.
Greg.
Greg,
Yeah.
He belongs to that Lundstrom.
Oh, I see.
He belongs to that Lundstrom.
That's great.
He's a nephew of Aunt Marie.
And I knew Tina when she was a neighbor to me down here, and she was married to Claude Turnby.
Yeah, Claude Turnby, and she was a seamstress.
And Bertha married
Tommy Vague. He was a member here, but then they moved down to Texas, and he was in the Army, and he was the captain, I think, in the Army.
I see. And Josie, the other sister, was married to?
She was married twice. She was married to a Peterson, Falk Peterson, and he was killed in the Second World War.
Oh.
And then she married Billy Mundy.
Billy Mundy.
And he died out in California. She has 3 children.
Now I suppose your father George would have been born then in Oklahoma, was he? When?
No, he was born in Smola.
He was born in Smola. And but where were you born then?
Smola.
And were all the children born in Smola?
Most of them were. I think maybe Arthur. We called him Artie. Arthur. I wonder if he wasn't born here in Lindsborg, the youngest one. And Stein and them. Let's see. No, see, here it says, I think they were, all of them were, the last 3, Stein, Tina and Josie and Bertha and Artie were all born in Tonkawa, Oklahoma.
Well, the last ones, the youngest ones.
The youngest ones,
That.
Then Oscar and Henry and Aunt Marie, they were born around Salesburg.
Okay. Now, but you didn't. Your father, your family, you lived in other counties, I understand, didn't you?
We lived in Smolan, and then when I was about a first grader, then we moved out to western Kansas, and we were out there 3 or 4 years.
This is farming?
well, now my dad he did contracting.
Oh, contracting.
And then we came here to Lindsborg, and then he went into he decided he wanted to be a bookkeeper, and he went to college, Bethany College, and finished in commercial and became a bookkeeper.
Oh. So he went to college?
Yes, he went up to college. He went there too when he was younger, but he went down to the river one night during the winter, and somebody pushed him in the water, and he fell onto the ice and got pneumonia. Had to walk back to college in the cold weather, and he got pneumonia and had to quit college. Then he was going to be in music because he took piano. Oh. So he could play the piano.
He could? Okay.
Yeah, he did. I guess that's where we got it, Patty.
Did he go, did you say he studied bookkeeping?
Yes, he was a bookkeeper. He was a bookkeeper at Hegstrom Factory, but you don't know that place.
Well, I've heard of it, yes.
Yes. And then he worked at Runbeck store for a while. And then he took the civil service and he went into the post office, and that's where he worked till he died. He was assistant postmaster.
Oh, your father. Now, your mother was, as you said, was Tensa Peterson, and she belonged to which Peterson family again?
No, not that one.
No, not another family.
See, that was my dad's family. But they weren't as well-to-do as these people.
Yeah.
Mama's people were real poor.
I believe you told her that she had one brother and 4 sisters.
Yes, that's right.
And that she was 5 when she
came here.
When she immigrated. Do you know anything more about?
Oh, she tells us wild tales. Well, her dad came over here before the family did.
And what would his name have been?
His name was John.
John Peterson.
Well, do you remember Buick Pete?
Yeah, I've heard of Buick Pete.
Well, Buick Pete was the first cousin of Mama, and they belonged to that same Peterson. His name was Peterson, and that was the whole family. They were Oscar Peterson, and there were 3 or 4 girls. There was about 5 in that family, and they lived right across the alley here.
But the oldest one was John Peterson, who came over.
Yeah, that was the father.
The father.
Yeah.
And he had several children.
He had Aunt Millie and Aunt Beatty and Aunt Alrita and Uncle Albert, Mama 5. And they were real poor, and Grandpa came across here, and he worked in Pennsylvania or someplace in the mines. And they didn't hear from him for a long time, and they'd gotten where they didn't have food to eat hardly. And Mama
in Pennsylvania?
No, they were in Sweden, and see, they were waiting for Grandpa to send them money to come across.
I see.
And they didn't know why, but he didn't send any money. And finally he sent them money, so then they got passage and came across here. And he had been injured in the mines, and he'd been sick, and so that's why he hadn't written. So then they came across here.
And why did they come particularly to Lindsborg?
Well, I think it was just because so many people came from Smoland and they lived here, and because they almost came right straight across, and they lived up in. They didn't farm or anything. They didn't have any farm, and they lived on the church land, Kyrkelandet they called it, and the church they lived there on that church land, right outside of Svensk, right this way, about a half a mile this side of Svensk. And then when they and Mama used to work at the pastor's house. Dr. Celine was his name, and she worked helped Mrs. Celine at that house to help pay expenses. So
did they live there all the time then, or did they eventually move to Lindsborg?
No, they never moved to Lindsborg. No, Mama didn't move to Lindsborg till after she was married. No, they lived out there.
And that's where your mother Tensa would have met your father then in
Salesburg.
In the Salesburg church. So they were involved with the Salesburg church.
Yes, they were involved with the Salesburg church.
Okay. Now, your husband was of the Sundstrom, and his what was his father's name?
John
Sundstrom. And what relation was John Sundstrom to J.O. Sundstrom?
He was a nephew.
A nephew. So that would have made your husband a grandnephew then of J.O. Sundstrom.
Yes.
And what was your husband's occupation?
Well, he was a clerk, mostly. He was a salesman. I said, I know he was a good salesman because one time when we had a dust storm, he sold a combine to a farmer. Huh? How could you sell a combine to a farmer when the land was blowing? But he did. But he was a salesman. He worked for J.O. Sundstrom's, and he worked for Bogart's, and he worked for what was his name? At a clothing store there in town here.
No, you're talking about your husband. Now, his father, John Sundstrom, was a mason, I understand.
Yes. Oh, yes. He was really a good mason. He really was. He learned that in Sweden, and he was a good mason.
Then I suppose a lot of the sidewalks in Lindsborg were...
Yeah, they were made by Grandpa, and he really was a good mason.
Do you remember any? You wouldn't be old enough to remember when there were boardwalks, would you?
No, I didn't remember that. No.
In the Lindsborg.
See, I didn't come here till I was 7 years old to Lindsborg.
So your husband Carl was an only son, then?
Yes, he had two sisters.
And what were their names?
One was Louise, and she married an Edwardson, George Edwardson, and then there was Annie, and she married Cecil Palmquist.
Oh, we had a picture of
Annie.
Annie, I believe.
Yeah, it's that one.
She was a sister of your husband. And married to
Cecil Palmquist.
Was he any related to the other, like Arthur Palmquist?
Yeah, they are shirt-tail relations, you know. I mean, I think they're second cousins or something like that, but they are related. Yeah. Their parents or their grandparents are.
Now, what do you remember about your growing up? Well, so of course, how old were you when you came to Lindsborg?
A second grader, 7 years old, about 7 or 8.
So, what do you remember about life in Lindsborg then?
Oh, it was fun. I've always liked it. I said I want to live here till I die. But it was nice.
You went to the town grade school and not the academy, or the...
No, I went to the town grade school.
You went to the town grade school.
And we lived up there when I was going to school. And we had nice teachers. I enjoyed it. Of course, I've always enjoyed learning, so I guess that's one reason why I liked it. But we had strict teachers, I'll tell you. I can remember our superintendent standing around the corner, and we'd been told not to go down in a hollow, and some of the kids did, but I don't know why I didn't go that day, but I didn't. But he stood there, and he had a rubber hose, and when they came up, he hit them across their legs.
Corporal punishment in those days.
Well, boy, it was Mr. Myers. His daughter lives over there by the not the Swedish American, what's that investment place down there in the corner?
Oh yes, it's changed now.
Colonial it was.
Yes, it was a Colonial.
Yeah,
I can't remember the name.
Well, you know, it's that little house right next to her.
Oh, that little house.
Yeah, that's where she lives now. But she was his daughter. But he was a hard-boiled guy, but he was a good superintendent.
Do you remember any of your teachers?
Oh yes,
Who were some of your teachers?
Emma Olson was one of them, and then our second grade teacher was C.P.T. Criffield.
Criffield?
Yeah, her last name was Criffield, and I don't know if she didn't have any first name, but they were always C.P.T.
C.P.T.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
Well, and then Emma Olson, she was a sweet lady. She married Knut Train afterwards, but then she quit teaching. But she was a lovely lady. And then I had Enola Bengtsson. She became Mrs. Boots Anderson, and she was a good one. And then I had 7th grade. I had Hedvig Bäckström, and she came from Sweden, and she was she came in her teens, I guess. I guess it was her late teens. And then she learned the English language, and then she went to Bethany College. And she taught in high school afterwards. She taught in a grade school. And you talk to anybody that had had her, and they'll all tell you that was my favorite teacher. Well, Dr. Risterman has gotten in touch with her, and he said she lives in Arizona. And he said she has just as much pep as you do, he told me. And anyway, she's 97 years old now. And she went to Alaska last summer. And this year she went to California. And we've been trying to get her here for Hyllningsfest, and we almost got her here this year. And he said she can stay with him when she comes, because he's so fond of her. And
her name again is?
Hedvig Beckstrom.
Hedvig
It's Peterson now, because she married since she got out there. But he was going to, but she couldn't come this year. And she said, I would love to come for Hyllningsfest. But then she had to have a cataract operation in September, so she couldn't make it. So maybe next time we'll get her to come. And she said, doll baby.
Now, you had education beyond the grade school, did you? You went to high school, did you?
Oh yeah, I went to high school, huh?
But not to Bethany?
Yes, I finished Bethany. It took me
graduated.
9 years.
Oh.
Because I went summers and evenings, night school.
Oh.
That's what I had to do. Well, I had 2 years. I had 2 years straight that I got. No, I went 2 summers and a winter, I think. And then so I could teach public school music. But then when I went back to get my degree, then I had to go evenings and in summertime.
So you taught school?
Oh yes.
And where did you teach?
Well, I taught out of train school out in the country. I taught rural school out there for 2 or 3 years. And then I got my degree I got a diploma in public school music, and I went out to Mineola around Dodge City. And I taught out there for 2 or 3 years. And then I got married and had Patty. And then then it was during the war, and they were so short of teachers. So Vinnie Lindbeck called me, and she said, why don't you go back to school and she said, I'll get you a provisional certificate so you can teach, and go out to Marquette and teach first grade, because they sadly in need of a teacher. And I said, all right, I will. And so I did, and so that's when I started back in teaching. And I taught then until I had taught about 30 years.
You taught in Lindsborg too, didn't you?
Yeah, I taught Lindsborg. Last time I taught here, I taught about 3 years, the first time I taught in 6th grade. And then I taught after when I started then in 5th grade, then I taught 15 years here. So I taught here. Yeah.
What year did you retire?
68.
68.
I was 65 and they wouldn't let me teach anymore. But I went out to Salina and taught 1 year, and I went out to Gypsum and taught 1 year and got my 25 years so I could get more pension. I'd get almost twice as much pension if I taught 25 years than I would if I taught 24. So I got that.
Yeah, certainly wouldn't blame you. Do you remember anything interesting about the downtown area when you were young? The movies or the theater? And
oh, yeah. Well, you know, by the bank, between the bank, south of the bank, they had just a wall along like that, and there was no top on it. Oh. And we had movies on Saturday. Oh, then it was fun. And we had Perros of Pauline. Oh, but you couldn't miss it. Oh, you had to go every Saturday.
It was cereal.
Yeah. Oh, it was fun. And
that was when you had the open air theater.
Yeah, the open air theater.
What they referred to that? I heard it referred to as a Nickelodeon.
Oh yeah, that's what it was.
Is that because they paid a nickel to get in?
Yeah, you paid a nickel to get in. I said my dad would give me a dime on Saturday for my allowance, or just so I could have to spend when I went downtown. And then I'd get an ice cream cone and go to the movie. And then it was just, and boy, we
had more fun.
Well, sure, we had a grand time.
And then when the theater, when they had a building on the west side.
Yeah, then, well, see, Roy Bengtson had both of them. I mean, but in the summertime we'd go out there.
Oh.
And have it out there.
Oh, I see. They were running at the same time.
And then in the wintertime we would be over there.
But it was called the Wonderland Theater.
Yeah,
first.
the Wonderland Theater, yes.
But was it first in another building? Did they?
I don't remember. I don't remember that.
There...
I've never been to any other one but that one where it is now, where it was now. Now it's.
Do you remember then the silent films?
Oh yes. Oh
How,
yes.
Did you ever provide entertainment for the silent films?
I used to play for the piano for the
Did you?
movies. Well, I did substitution, so I was.
Who was
really,
the regular pianist?
Well, George Edwardson, the one that married my sister-in-law, he was one for a long time, and there were different people that played, and then but that was kind of fun.
And I know for sure that the Messiah has been a big part of your life. How many years have you sung in the Messiah?
I sing this year will be 62.
62 years. So that would mean that you started at what age?
16. I started at 16, but I stayed out when I had Patty. When I was, and then I went away to teach too a couple of years ago. But I enjoy singing in the Messiah, and I've sung before Brossie started.
Oh, did you? Under who was it?
Rosengren.
Rosengren.
I sang under him.
Do you remember any of the famous soloists?
You know, I sometimes think about what a marvelous thing it is. Here I live in a small town. It is a small town, and I have heard artists that I bet people in the big cities have never heard. I heard Schumann Heink 3 times. And I heard Gallikurchi the first time she went around.
Did you?
Oh, yes. And Isai, I heard him. And Casals, I heard him. Oh, and I heard Albert Spalding. And Marian Talley. And, there was one that worked, Giovanni. And she would sing and she'd do things with her hands, and I said, you'd know exactly what she was singing about. She was just marvelous. Giavannini or something like that was her name. And so I wouldn't give anything for those experiences.
Olive Fremstad was never here, was she?
Yes, she was
Olive
here.
Fremstad, did she?
Yeah, she was here. But I don't think I had started then to go to that. But goodness, but those pictures in that back room back there, I've heard most all of them. Well, my dad was very musical, and he wanted to go. He's the one that took me to hear Gallikurchi. So I remember that we sat up in the old. And have you ever been in the Ling Gymnasium?
I was in there once when my sister was. I came down one weekend to visit my sister, and we went to, I think, a basketball game over there, but I have a very vague remembrance of the year.
Well, we went to hear Gallikurchi, and I remember we sat up on the balcony, up in one of those little windows up there, not quite up that far, but almost. And then the sun would shine through those little windows down on the stage, just like a spotlight. And she was a little woman. She wasn't very big, and she was dressed in kind of an orange and red outfit, and she had such black hair and stuff. She was just beautiful, and I remember I had never heard her call her tour. My dad took me that day, and I don't know why Mama didn't go. Maybe the girls were little. I would never. Anyway, we went, and Gallikurchi sang the bell song from Latin, and I tell you, I was so thrilled, and she held that high note, and just about that time the sun shone down right on her, and that red, and people did like that because she held on to that high note such a long, long time, and it was just, I was so thrilled, I just thought I would pass out.
Well, that's a marvelous memory that you have.
Yes, that was such a much fun. And then Schumann Heink was such a cute one to hear too, because she talked, she'd tell about how, and she stayed at the hotel, and she didn't like the bathrooms. She didn't like that, and so she'd tell about how awful it was in the spring.
Well, there was no private. I mean, there was. They had to share baths. I understand.
Oh yeah, well sure, and it was, and so finally, then when she came, she would stay at Oscar Johnson's. They lived over there where Borg's live now. On this street, up way up north there, almost, and she would stay there with them, and she'd eat in the kitchen. That's what she liked. She was a
rather homey type.
Well, sure, and that's what she liked, And so whenever she came, she always stayed with those Johnsons after that. So, and he said, but she sang. She gave a wasn't it? She helped pay for the
a benefit.
A benefit. Yeah, she did that. She was a sweet lady.
I don't know how many times she had been here, but 2 or 3 or.
I don't know. I heard her 3 times.
Well, 3 times then, apparently.
Yeah, she was.
I've heard. Did you ever hear the story about Pablo Casal's coming in a snowstorm or something?
Oh, it was that awful snowstorm. It was just terrible. I worked at the post office during that time, and when I came home from work that day, it was about, well, it was dark. It was about 7 o'clock, but of course it was winter time and it was dark. And I went in snow up over my knees, and the only way I could walk, because I couldn't hardly walk, I'd have to run, and you get so tired of running. Then I'd have to stop and laugh because it was so funny. When I got home, then I wanted to go up to college and hear the concert in the evening because they always had glee clubs, and I just loved to hear them. And Mama wouldn't let me go, and I was so mad at her because she wouldn't let me go up to the college. And then Carl and I went to hear Pablo Casals the next Sunday, and they had a heck of a time getting that Casals here. I don't think he could come on the train. I think they had to bring him on.
I've heard 2 stories. One is that they came on a hand car, and the other one was some kind of a coach that got through.
Well, he couldn't come on the train, and I know we had people that came in for them, and they came on horseback out here in the country because they couldn't come in.
And they still came out in pretty good numbers to hear.
Yeah, we had the concert that night because I know Reuben Anderson came in on a horse and got on a horseback, but it was, but that Casals, I was so glad I heard him because my granddaughter, she plays cello, and then I could tell her that I heard Casals, and he was one of the greatest cellists that they had. So, but I said, now, very few towns of this size could have had that many.
Well, the early people here were starved for culture. I think more so than we are now in Lindsborg, if I can make that comment.
Well, I tell you, we hear so much on TV and things like that
does
too.
Make a difference. You have received quite a bit of publicity, haven't you, about you?
Yes, I know.
About your singing in the Messiah. This one, well, this was in the Messenger, wasn't it? I
think so.
Albertha Sundstrom sings her 55th Messiah, but that was in 1980. Now they started.
1981, I had sung 56. So, well, I sung 61, and I know I've sung more than that, but I said I wouldn't take any.
And this, you were in the Hutchinson. Where are you in this picture?
There.
Right here. Would that have happened to? Would that have been the year that they televised? No, I don't suppose.
I don't think so.
And well, all 3 of these ladies are grand old ladies of the Messiah, right?
Yes. I said the man that was here last year and directed Mitchell.
Wayne Mitchell.
Yeah, he'd come. He'd call us. He'd come and scold us every day. He'd come and just to be funny. He'd come for us to behave.
So this is Amy Anderson.
Yeah, that's Amy Anderson.
And this is
me.
Albertha and Elsie Dorr. Okay. Well, do you have anything else that you can share of your memories and work in Lindsborg?
Well, I said I've been awfully happy living here, and it certainly has enriched my life a lot. And I am so glad that we did move here because.
Now you've done a lot of seamstress work too, haven't you?
Yes, I've been making Swedish costumes, and I don't know why they think I'm an authority, but I think it's just because I got nerve enough to start.
Do you still do that?
Yeah, I've got 4 left to make. I was going to have them ready for Hyllningsfest, and then I had to go and be operated on, so I didn't get it done. But I'm going to get them done this spring. But I made over 200.
200 Swedish costumes?
Oh yeah, I know
both men
I
and
have.
women's.
Huh?
Both men and women's.
Oh yes, I make them both. But I try not to make trousers because I hate to make trousers. So I make them, I'll cut them off, I'll cut off some pants for them and let it go there.
That reminds me, do you remember, what do you remember about the very first Hyllningsfest?
Oh, that was fun. You know, and people just didn't think it'd work, you know. It's
Skepticism.
Oh yes, it's always that way, you know. But Dr. Howard, he was bound to do it, and I belonged to the first Swedish dancers.
You did?
Yes, I belonged to the first ones. Well, Carl wouldn't dance, my husband, but Walter Brown, do you remember him?
Yes, at the college.
Yeah, he was one of my partners one year, and so I found partners. They'd find partners for me, and I could dance. But I remember we just had so much fun. There was one man that he couldn't waltz because he could one step, and you dance with one foot and then you step with this one and then dance like that, and he couldn't waltz with this foot. And we worked and worked and worked, and we finally got him so he could waltz with both feet, but he couldn't waltz with one foot. So we had a lot of fun.
Who trained you or taught you for those very first?
Well, there was a lady here that used to teach dancing someplace else. She lived here, next door here, and so she started us out. But she wasn't the one that started it out. There was some people that were living here, and they got books and they read and they started us out. And then of course we had Mr. Berggren, and he was born in Sweden and he could do all those dances. And then there was Carl B. Anderson's dad. He was from Sweden, and boy could he ever dance. And so they were there to help too, so they could help us with the dances. And so we had a group and we danced, but then we had to get costumes too, and that wasn't such an easy thing because during that time it was shortage of materials. And I remember Mr. Berggren had my first skirt. It had white spots on it that it had been soaked, but I took and sewed them together. I guess so it worked. I got it together. And but we just had to use about what you had. But we had costumes, but people didn't think it would work, but it did. It worked.
I understand that before the Hyllningsfest, the big thing was what was called the fair. Do you remember about the fair at the college? They used to have it in Ling.
A bazaar.
A bazaar, yeah.
Oh, that was fun. Yeah, we used to go up there, and you know they had booths and stuff, and they served food to stuff and candies and cookies and stuff. And then they had a program, and I remember one year we had a bunch of young high school kids, and they were dressed in red, white, and blue outfits, and they had a march, you know, and a precision march, and it was pretty. It was real pretty. And then one of the main things that they had too at that was Oscar Torsen. He would have a concert in the back, and he dressed like a woman.
Oh.
And he would be he would be an opera singer. And he would do that every year for a long time. And it was just killing people. Every show was full. They'd have several shows, and he would do it. And then at the end, they always had a tableau. And you always had to stay for the tableau.
Would they just acted out something, scene or something?
Well, yeah, they just had the scene, and then they'd show pictures and put it in different colors and stuff like that. But then that was so much fun.
That was the finale of the evening.
That was the finale of the evening, and it was fun. It really was fun. And you know, the Bethany ladies, Mrs. Paleblad and Mrs. Bross and all those, they would serve punch. One year, somebody put some stuff in their punch. They sure sold it, and they were so embarrassed. It was just terrible. Oh, that was funny.
I'd like to ask you also about. I remember Annie Field Swenson. Do you remember?
I loved her things. You know, on Good Friday she always gave that concert, and she'd give a book review. it was awful. She had it all memorized. It was beautiful. And I remember she had Smiling Through. I think I heard her give that twice. That was just beautiful. She just did a lovely job.
Dramatic reading.
Dramatic reading. It was it would be a whole afternoon on Friday afternoon. Mm-hmm. It was 2-3 hours.
That she would be singly alone with, and she kept the attention of her audience.
Oh yes, she did. Excuse me, she did a beautiful job. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she was. Mm-hmm. Well, and you know, they used to have solos. The solos that they have, in the old chapel, and that was so much fun because you just go and see who's going to win. I don't know if you remember. Oh heavens, I can't even think of her name, but she sang, and I remember she sang Hallelujah, you know, that solo. Mm-hmm. And she married who was it she married? Lundgren, and they lived down in Texas. She married a Lundgren, he went to school there, and she won first prize, and I tell you, she just could sing like nobody's business. Bachelor. Mm. Her name was Bachelor, and she lived where the Barfields lived. Oh. That's where they lived. But and it was so exciting to see that. But one time there was a girl there, she was going to sing, and she was singing. It isn't raining rain to me, it's raining violets or whatever it is. And they poured down on that roof, and it was a tin roof on the chapel. You couldn't hear what she was singing or anything. So there were fun things that happened too.
Well, anything else that you'd like to?
Oh, I don't know. Oh, I get silly once in a while.
Well, it's been a great deal of fun talking with you. We certainly do appreciate your willingness to share all of these wonderful things with us.
I don't know what wonderful things.
Well, thank you very much.
Oh, you're more than welcome. I was going to let you taste my pepper nut. Oh, shut that thing off. I was going to get some pepper nuts here, and I was going to have you to eat them. And here I forgot them.
Well, we couldn't be eating when we were talking. But, yeah. Oh, wait a minute. Before you go, we have to have you donate this. We have to have you authority that we can have this tape, you see. Oh. So you need to sign above your name here. But you can read it first so that you don't think you're signing your life away.
Well, I'm going to go get you some pepper nut. I was going to do that, and then I came home so late I didn't do it.
Okay. Thank you very much.